Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. We are back again for another edition of the Weekly Member Spotlight. I really just feel like I have to confess this morning, I had a snafu, a mix-up with the schedule, and the person who was on schedule for today is out of town, and she had told me that, and I didn't make arrangements. So I called a phoned a friend who is here to save the day, and it's really fitting because when we started this initiative back in July, we weren't doing the Facebook Live videos, we were just doing posts. And the post really evolved. And I feel like the folks who were on at the beginning of this initiative kind of missed out on some of the fun and some of the opportunity. So we have talked in our board meeting about getting some of those folks who are early on participants to come back and do like a throwback. So you're getting the very first ever Flashback Friday Weekly Member Spotlight. We're throwing it way back to the inaugural post, and I am very honored to be sitting here with the president of the board of directors for the GCNKAA, Mr. Jud Oscherwitz. Jud, thank you very much.
Thank you, Melissa.
We appreciate, I deeply appreciate you helping me in my time of need. Otherwise, this space would have gone empty today, people would have been disappointed, and this is a surprise.
Well, hopefully people wouldn't prefer the emptiness.
No, I'm positive that they wouldn't. Well, I know you're a very familiar face in the organization, and you are kind of the mouthpiece of our board of directors and of the association right now, but I'm sure there might be a few folks out there in Facebook land who don't know you. Can I ask that you maybe just take a moment, introduce yourself, tell everyone who you are, who you work for, and maybe how long you've been in the business?
Sure. So my name is Jud Oscherwitz. I am Regional Vice President at Towne Properties, and I am the current board president here at the Apartment Association, and happy to be so.
Wonderful. I've been dying to ask this, and a board meeting just didn't feel like the appropriate place, but how exactly did you become the president?
I don't know.
Is the desk staffed over here? Is there checks involved?
Yeah, a lot of payments.
Right.
No, I've been on the board for 6 years, so Towne being the largest management owner company in the apartment association in our area, they always like to have a board member from Towne Properties.
Sure.
Bob Waukee, our president at Towne Properties, asked me one day that he said the team had talked to Towne and thought that I would be a good representative for Towne to be on the board. I was honored that he asked me and flattered, and so I happily accepted that, and I guess won the election to get on the board.
Mm-hmm.
And I've served in that capacity, and you know, honestly, from the beginning, I really was just learning.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know a great deal about what the association's goals were, what the mission statement was, what we were trying to accomplish or achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And I really just listened that first year. You know, I really didn't say a whole lot because I didn't feel ready to participate at that level. And you know, a rookie should be seen, not heard. And
Agreed.
So I just tried to learn and absorb. And slowly over the years, I took on more and became the summer golf committee chairman or co-chair, and then the membership co-chair and chair. So I got to learn a lot through those committees, and then got on the executive committee, I guess starting as secretary and then working my way up, and I guess they eventually had to make me president.
Well, you've done a great job. You've served 1 year so far, and you've got this year to serve, and I know I can speak for, I'm sure, my fellow board members, but you've definitely brought some humor to your speeches, and we appreciate that.
Well, I'm trying.
Well, tell us a little bit about how you got into the business and how long you've been in the business.
Well, it's kind of a funny story. So I started working at Towne Properties as a summer intern, the summer before my senior year of college, and I started through a connection that I had with Towne, which probably is how a lot of people started with their jobs. But it was a really interesting summer because I was spending, it was mapped out and planned that I would spend basically a week with each division. So I was in Mount Adams where our corporate headquarters is, but at that time we had an office down the street, so we weren't actually in the monastery.
Right.
And so I spent a week with the custodian, a week with the landscaper, a week with the maintenance techs, a week with the leasing rep, with the community manager, then the district manager, then went up to the monastery and spent a week with accounting, and then I spent the last 3 weeks of the summer shadowing Bob Waukee, who was our president then and still is today. And so it was really interesting because you know, they all knew that I was only spending a week at a time. So the custodian and the landscaper, the maintenance tech, you know, who's this kid?
Right,
You know what
right.
I mean? And I was just a scrawny, skinny little kid, so they probably didn't think I could help much.
Right.
And so, you know, I kind of felt like I had to work twice as hard to earn their respect as I did with Bob. Like, Bob was going to treat me with respect from the beginning, you know, unless I was a jerk.
Right.
And but the maintenance guys and the custodian and the landscapers, they didn't have any interest in me. So
Right.
the only way I could really earn their respect was to work extremely hard and almost outwork them. I didn't know what I was doing and still don't know how to fix anything. But so I didn't learn, unfortunately. But you know, but by the end of each week, they all respected me because I really did work hard.
Did you lease any apartments your first week?
I don't think so. But I didn't not lease any. It wasn't my fault we did it.
Right.
But, you know, I learned a lot, and I worked hard, and, you know, I learned a lot from shadowing Bob. You know, I remember sitting in on meetings with him, with vendors, and he would always start off a meeting saying what he was unhappy about.
Right.
So that got their attention right away.
Right.
I noticed. And then he would always end on a positive. So it got their attention right away, but then he ended the meeting with the relationship being built.
Right.
So I learned that very quickly just by observing.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you've been
And then
in
they ended up offering me a job my senior year.
Yeah.
And I've been there ever since.
What
so.
did you do coming in right out of college?
I actually started on the condo side
Okay.
of our business and still am in the condo side of our business. But so I started out as a assistant property manager and basically was just learning.
Right.
Because I was clueless. And just shadowed property managers and went on meetings with them, went on appointments, watched what they did during the day and just observed basically. And then did that for a few months until they were comfortable with me getting my own portfolio, and then was a property manager. And it was great because I was at 2 different district offices. I was at Wildwood, which now no longer is with us, but that was great because our office was in the clubhouse right overlooking the golf
Oh,
course.
wow.
And
Gotta
the
love
pub was
that.
underneath, so that was fun. And then so I spent half the week there and then half the week at Harper's at our district office there. So by working at those 2 places, I met so many people right off the bat that I knew more people than some people that had been there 10 years knew.
Right.
So that was great. I mean, that really helped me. And then there was a need at Wildwood for a full-time manager, so I ended up going there full-time. And then in 2000, you know, I kind of always wanted to be on the apartment side because that was our core business, though really condos is too. But there was an opportunity to be the community manager in Mount Adams.
Okay.
And so that was very appealing to me. I wanted to be downtown and be in Mount Adams and be near the corporate office and kind of at the heart of everything.
Right.
And so I've never left Mount Adams. So
Okay.
I've been there since 2000. So I've been in town. It's really hard for me to even comprehend it, but I've been in town for 22 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so when people tell me or ask me how long I've been in town, I say since birth.
Right.
It's not that far from the truth.
So, having been in the business for so long and having been in so many different roles, you probably have a ton of stories. What's one of your more memorable property management industry stories?
That we can say on here?
Family friendly.
Gosh, that's a challenge. So, you know, the thing about this industry is that something different happens every day.
Right.
And something unexpected happens every day. And so, you know, especially on the condo side. So the condo side of the business is pretty crazy.
I can imagine.
Yeah, so, you know, I find it very important for our team to be able to vent to each other and to me. I'd rather have them vent to me instead of on the client.
Right.
So, you know, I constantly am hearing stories about crazy things and crazy people, unfortunately.
Right.
You know, in every property there's what we call the 5% rule. And that means that 95% of the people are great and 5% are the ones that keep you up at night.
Right.
And just get under your skin. So there are enough stories for those 5%ers to last a lifetime. Most of them I probably couldn't tell on here.
Right,
But,
right.
you know, we had, in one of our very high-end high-rises, somebody was moving and they had I guess a really high-end thermometer or clock or something that had mercury in it, and they dropped it. The movers dropped
Right.
it, and mercury went all over.
Oh, wow.
And you have to get like the EPA involved,
Yeah.
and it became an ordeal.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, so that's just one that I can think of as family friendly.
Right, okay.
The most of them I can tell.
Anyone who is in this business knows exactly what kind of stories that come to mind when you
Right.
ask that question, and very few could be repeated on
Correct.
video. I've said forever, and I can't believe it hasn't happened yet. We need reality TV in the apartment industry. I think you should talk to Towne. I think you should talk to Bob about that. Like, Towne might be.
Believe me, we can do it.
That's funny.
There's no doubt about it.
Well, I know relationships are very important to you, and
Yes.
Your role in this on the board for the GCNKA is very important. And I know you have a lot of experience to share. But what's some advice that you could narrow down to share with like the next generation of people coming up in property management?
Well, I think it's the number one thing is relationship building. And so, you know, I was the membership chair for a while, and whenever we have a new membership orientation, we just had one the other night, whenever I speak to the group, I always tell them, this should all be about building relationships.
Right.
Don't throw all your marketing materials at us.
Right.
I'm not going to do anything with it at an event.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we had somebody that gave us CDs at one of the events. They always handed out CDs. I'm not going to play it right now.
Right,
so
right.
just give me your business card. But, you know, I think it's really important to try to get to know each other, establish a connection.
Mm-hmm.
If you build the relationship and you have a product or a service that we need, if you build the relationship, I'm going to call you before the person I don't have that relationship
Right.
with. And in our business, I always preach to my own people, my own team, that says building the relationship and earning the credibility and trust of your clients is the number one goal. That should be the number one priority, because in this industry, you're always going to make mistakes. It's
Right.
inevitable. You
Mhm.
can't avoid it. So if you have the credibility and trust and friendship of your client,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
If you don't have that, if you haven't earned the trust and the credibility and built that camaraderie,
Mm-hmm.
as soon as that mistake happens, they're ready to get rid
Yeah.
of you. You know, they're either going to fire you, they're going to call me and say we need a new manager,
Yeah.
or whatever the case may be. If you build the relationship, you're going to get the benefit of the doubt. So that's key. You know, and I think from a vendor relationship with folks like you and I, it helps if we enjoy being around you. You know, if
Sounds
we
like
don't,
you're kind of cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, your kids for sure. But if we don't enjoy being in the same room as somebody,
Mhm.
or being able to converse with somebody, or feel comfortable or trust somebody,
Right.
we're not going to want to do business with them,
Mhm.
and vice versa. No client's going to want to do business with me or you if they don't feel comfortable and trust us and believe what we're telling them.
Right.
So you have to be honest. You know, I prefer to be totally transparent
Mhm.
and forthright with what we charge for things.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want any surprises, and neither do they. So
Yeah.
I'd rather be upfront and build that trust from the get-go and never have that be questioned.
Right.
So that's what I preach to the new members.
Yeah.
Get
And
to know
that's-
us.
That's really great advice, and you're right. I mean, for us in the operations role of this business, it's really important for us to have resources, because like you said
Right.
earlier, like, we can't fix things, we can't do things, we can identify the problems, and then we have to match our resources to those problems. So I think that's the best advice possible, and our association being as strong as it is. I know the trade show is coming up, and I was
Yeah.
going to say that here at the end, but the trade show is a great opportunity for the operators of the business to meet the vendors and service providers of the business and match those needs to the resources. So great advice, and for anybody who's not registered or ready to come to the trade show, that is the best possible event to
Yes,
network.
it's a no-brainer, and so is the
Yeah.
business exchange. The
Oh, yeah.
business exchange is the best value we have in the industry.
Yep, and that's
Vendors
coming up in
Association.
August.
Yep.
So, well, can we maybe shift gears a little bit, because I think everyone certainly, again, knows who you are. You've been around for a long time, and being our president, but sort of the reason we started this initiative is because so many people know who you are, but they don't know you. And I've loved this initiative because, like, we get to know a little bit about one another. So who in the world is Jud Oscherwitz? Can we just...
It's a great mystery. I like to keep it that way.
Well, you know, there's that. But give us a little something. Tell us a little bit about your life and your family and what you do in your hobby pastime.
Well, I was born in San Diego. My dad was a doctor in the Navy.
Okay.
But both of my parents were from Cincinnati, so unfortunately they moved us back. Wouldn't have been too bad growing up in San Diego,
Cincinnati.
yeah, paradise. But so I grew up here. I grew up in Wyoming.
Mhm.
Went to Wyoming High School, and I am the youngest of four. I have three older siblings. I'm actually going to Chicago tonight to spend some time with my family. My 13-year-old nephew is in the school production of Grease.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'm going tomorrow.
Who's he playing?
I don't know, but my sister's very appreciative that I'm going. He
Right.
doesn't really care. But so that's fun. And so my family, little fun fact: everyone in my family except for me is a doctor.
Oh.
Either an MD or a PhD.
Really?
So my dad was a psychoanalyst. My mom was a psychologist. My oldest sister is a PhD psychologist. She's in the corporate world now. My brother's a pathologist, and his wife's a cardiologist.
Wow.
My other sister is a psychiatrist, and so is her husband.
You must
So
have some
I'm like the black sheep of the family.
fascinating family dinners. My goodness. Don't want to bring any
Exactly.
problems to that table.
Exactly. So, and then the other fun fact is that I have 7 nephews and no nieces. So
Oh, wow.
a lot of testosterone in the
Seriously.
family. So we were all just in Costa Rica
Mhm.
for winter break, which was incredible. And all 7 of the nephews were there together, which was
Wow.
fantastic. And we had a
That's
great
great.
time. Everybody got along and had a great time and did fun things, and it was beautiful there.
Wow.
So
That's quite the family.
yeah, it is. It's pretty fun.
Have you gotten grief about choosing property management over some
No.
other profession?
No, I was never very good at math or science, so
Right.
that really limited that option. But I also didn't really want to be a doctor. But it's funny. My dad used to say I was the most analytical one in the family with
Yeah.
all these psychiatrists and psychologists. But
Do you know, I've joked about this being in property management, that, the peanut sign that Lucy has, psychiatry help 5 cents,
Exactly.
like you are in psychiatry
right,
if you're
believe
in
me,
property
it helps.
management, right?
Yeah, and so a big part of my job is for my own team to come and vent to me
Exactly.
and let me know what's going on and
Mhm.
express their frustration and try to help. So
Right.
believe me, the family business comes in handy.
I
You
bet
have to
it
listen
does.
well in our jobs.
Right. Well, it sounds like you spend a lot of time with your family. What other kinds of pastimes do you enjoy?
I exercise a lot. I try to work out every day. So I try to be healthy if I can.
Yeah.
But I also like to have fun, play golf with my buddies, and have fun. And I'm competitive in some ways. Like at work, I'm kind of competitive,
Mhm.
and if there's new business to be had,
The
I
membership
go.
drive, you're
Yeah.
very competitive.
Right. That's true.
I asked-
Well, I like to talk trash more than anything.
Good gracious, I'm sitting in those meetings like hoping my name doesn't come up. And Jed's over
Right.
here like, who's got more than 3?
Well,
this week?
if you can stoke everybody's competitive fire, they
Right,
tend to
right.
make a little more effort.
Are you good at golf?
Not really.
No?
Not particularly.
So Dave Lockard got really humble, and then when the camera went off, he was like, "So I'm actually really good at golf." And people
No,
were texting me
that's
like,
not
"I'm
gonna
really
happen.
good at golf."
No,
you just enjoy it.
Yeah,
You're not-
yeah. That's the thing. I'm not good enough to be super competitive with
Right.
it, so I'd rather just have fun and joke around.
Right.
If we didn't even keep score, I wouldn't be upset.
What's your favorite sport to follow?
Baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reds fan?
Yes. Die hard.
How many games do you go to a year?
It varies, but if I'm not going, it's on TV.
Right.
Yeah, I love baseball. So my dad and his friends were big baseball fans, and I think I just kind of inherited it. It's a great background. You can do other things and have
Mhm.
baseball on, and it's just, people actually say that it's very slow, but I disagree. There's actually a rhythm and a flow to it.
Mhm.
With the other sports, there's so many stoppages and
Mhm.
timeouts and
Mhm.
anything.
Commercial
Baseball
breaks.
keeps going.
Right.
And it's every day, which I like,
Mhm.
and I just love it. I actually, I put my dog down that I loved a few years
Oh,
ago,
wow.
but I named him Joey after
Oh
Joey
yeah.
Votto. So,
The first time I took my son to a Reds game, we sat right on the first baseline, and Joey Votto came up, and so my son got to kind of say hello to him. And then when he came out, he had a Taylor Swift song playing, which my son was kind of obsessed with at the time, and so now he could care less about baseball, but he always wants to know, where's Joey Votto on TV?
he's the man.
So let's talk a little bit about reading. Have you read any great books lately?
I'll be honest, I'm more of a vacation reader.
Yeah?
I'm too easily distracted
Right.
in real life.
Do you like to read a tangible book, or do you like to listen to audiobooks?
I usually read.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kindle or whatever.
Mhm.
But what I find that I am most interested are like autobiographies
Mhm.
about smart, funny people.
Right.
Yeah. I'm reading one about Steve Martin right now.
Oh.
But my feeling is if you can make somebody laugh,
Mm-hmm.
you're an intelligent person. You
Right.
have to be smart to be able to
Absolutely.
make somebody laugh. So I'm always fascinated by those kind of people.
Got it. What about movies or TV?
Yeah, my favorite movie is Field of Dreams, which
Okay.
goes back to the
Baseball.
baseball theme, but it
Yeah.
also has a good family
Right.
type of theme also. My favorite comedy is Wedding Crashers. And TV, you know, I like the Seinfeld type of thing, and you know, on Netflix, there's so many good shows right now I mean, there's such good quality.
I just rekindled my relationship with Netflix recently,
yeah.
and oh my goodness.
You know, and that way when you work out, if you're doing cardio,
yep.
I can't do cardio unless I'm watching a game or
yeah.
a show, so you get caught up.
There you go.
yeah.
Well, what's being from Cincinnati and growing up here, I'm sure you have a ton of local favorite places to go and hang out and eat. What's one of your favorite restaurants?
I'd say the Precinct is probably my favorite. I used to live right up the street from it, so I like to go to the bar.
Is your name on the menu yet?
No, unfortunately not. But you know, pretty hard to beat that meal.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And anyone that ever comes to town that I know, I'm like, that's where you have to go. Just start there, and you need nothing more.
You know, I mean, I like Skyline and everything too, but
right.
I'd rather have a steak.
Right. What's one of the best concerts that you've been to?
You know, I've been to a lot of concerts. I went to the Black Crowes is my favorite band,
mm-hmm.
so I saw them in college, like 5th row center, so that was pretty
Here in Cincinnati?
Yeah, US Bank Arena, but
mm-hmm.
I was right on the floor, so it sounded good.
Yeah,
it was so up close and personal, but I love Tom Petty, who just passed
mm-hmm.
away. You know, that was heartbreaking. But you know,
I see what you did there.
yeah, you're right. But you know, I like a wide mix, and I I just think when you see musicians live, you really appreciate the talent.
Mm-hmm.
You either find out if there is talent, or you find out there isn't that
right.
much.
Yep.
But that's the true test.
Right.
So I love that.
There's entertainers, and then there are musicians.
Exactly.
And the musicians are, I think, the best.
Like
to
Tom
watch.
Petty, he understood he was there to entertain.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it wasn't 20-minute songs.
Right.
It was. His line was, "Don't bore us, get to the chorus."
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to wind it down a little bit, unless there's anything randomly fun about Jud that you would like to share with us.
Well, my name, you know, everybody says, what's Jud short for? But
mm-hmm.
it's just Jud.
Just Jud.
Yeah, my parents like the name, and there's just one D. It's not Judd. Most people think that.
Mm-hmm.
So I have the luxury of having my first name and last name mispronounced about 90% of
all
the
time.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I did have to ask Jud, just make sure I know how to pronounce your last name.
Some people ask me if it's Jude or Jud. Nope, it's just Jud.
Just Jud.
Yep.
Like just Jack.
Yeah.
All right. Well, one last question, and we'll let you get to your Friday. Thank you again. This has been fantastic. But how would you say that people who know you from this business, from the GCNKAA, and in the role that you have, how do you think people would describe you as a leader?
That's a good question. Well, I may ask you that question since you're a person I know in this industry. You know how I'd hope that they would describe me. You know, I think they would say I'm very loyal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like my team, that is.
Mm-hmm.
My team and my family would say that I'm very loyal.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been that way. I'm very loyal to the people I love and care for.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's very important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I remember Seinfeld, he said, I can only handle about 3 friends, you know?
Right.
And the reality is, you know, I know a lot of people and I have good relationships with a lot of people,
mm-hmm.
but, you know, you don't know a ton of people at that level.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very fiercely loyal and caring about the people that I love and care about. So, you know, but at my team, you know, I think it's very important, and my bosses have always been like this with me, so
mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of a pay it forward type of thing, but treating people the way you would want to be treated,
mm-hmm.
and then also always having their back. If you support them and you're loyal and you have their back, I think they're going to work hard for you
Absolutely.
and treat you well.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side, if you betray that trust,
Whew.
yeah,
right.
it's very hard for me to ever get it back.
Right.
I probably won't.
Right.
So, you know, there's 2 sides to that. But, you know, I don't know, in this industry, you know, in terms of my cohorts and colleagues here, I'd ask you, you know, how do you think people perceive?
Well, one thing that I would say about you is I think you're very engaging. And the one thing that I've appreciated sitting on the board is that I think you take special care in making sure that every single person on the team feels their value, and that everyone's in the right seat on the bus. And I like that very much, because as a leader, I'm constantly also thinking about how do I get the most out of our team, and to do that, you have to make everyone feel valued, and I think you've done a really great job of that, and taking time too. I remember when you got into your new role, not so new anymore, But when you got into the role of president, you sent an email out and said, I would be more than willing to sit down, go to lunch, have coffee with everyone. I really want to hear from you.
Yeah.
And so I felt included, and I felt engaged, and I felt like I had a voice at the table.
Yeah.
I think that's a great sign of a leader. One of the things that I've learned, and Michelle will appreciate this, if you talk less and listen more, you can't help but to grow yourself. And sometimes as leaders, we feel like we have to constantly feel the silence and say everything sitting at the head of the table with the gavel like you do. You probably feel like you may have felt like you have to run the show, but everyone around that table has something very important to add.
Yeah.
And I really feel like you've brought out a lot of our voices.
Well, good, thank you. Yeah, I want everybody's input, and I can learn from everybody, and we can implement those good ideas. I want that at work. I want that here.
Right.
That's very important. I hope that what you said about it being engaging, and I hope that's true. That's important to me. I want people to feel comfortable and at ease around me. I want them to feel like they can be themselves and let their guard down and just relax.
Right.
And I think it's important. I'm comfortable leading the meetings and being on stage at big events, and I want that to be fun. Not all our material is all that exciting all the time, so I want that to be fun and relaxed and entertaining, and I want people to laugh. And not all my jokes are going to work, which is heartbreaking for me. But I want people to be able to have fun and come to the events and know that this is going to be great. This is a networking event. This is supposed to be fun. We're going to have fun.
And I had no idea about that characteristic that you have in making people laugh until I sat at a dinner meeting with you for the first time. I'd never even had a conversation with you really, and you're like, watch this. And he goes up on stage and kills the room. And so
that's right, I thought of a good joke.
You did.
The other thing is I try to be calm. I think if I overreact to things, then my team's going to overreact.
Of course.
So if I try to stay calm and don't let it get to me, then it'll hopefully pass down.
My team and I were talking about this leadership theory of being a thermostat versus a thermometer, and that's exactly
that's
right. Yeah, set the temperature and the tone of the room. But you've done a phenomenal job with the board, I think, with that. And I think this is a really great segue to say, if you are a member of the association and if you have any interest in serving on a committee, please reach out to us. We have so many different committees and opportunities for you to get involved and find your voice in this organization, and we can only be as strong as we are and continue to grow with your help and support. So,
I agree.
Thank you very much, everyone. Jud, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Welcome.
Thank you very much for saving the day, saving me.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate it very much. Look forward to seeing everybody again next week. And don't forget about the trade show coming up. Please call us to register. Thanks so much.